Perfect. Hi, y'all. Thanks so much for joining. Let's make a spooky baddie piñata. So this is super fun and silly. We've got a fun bat here, but really what we're learning is foam core cutting techniques and this awesome cut and score situation that you can use beyond our piñata. Also, we're going to take a lot of time to make this. So if you don't want to smash it into tiny, tiny pieces, I understand. And this is something that's pretty durable. So if you just want to hang it and enjoy it, you absolutely can. So I'm going to get started with our materials in a second. But to everyone joining live, thanks. It's Monday night. You did it. And I'm going to answer questions at the end. So if something comes up while you're working, just throw it in the chat and then we'll go through it at the end. And everyone else, thanks for being here. So, all right, materials. This is the bat that I made. And then you go ahead and got that on the handout. So while you're here hanging out, just go ahead and cut this out and we'll trace this. It's a bat. Okay, so we've got our black artist tape. This stuff is awesome. Artist tape is different than masking because it's made to be removable. So that's something that's kind of like, why is this tape so expensive? It's because you can use it for more than just this product. I have a Prismacolor that we're using to draw the face on. This is a silver one too, just because I didn't have my thick one with me. Scissors. Our utility knife. We're going to talk about how to use these in general. And I need to let my dog out, so hold on. The joys of live teaching. So we have our utility knife. You don't have to have this brand. This is just the one I have from Michaels. It's great. Other ones that are made by Ulfa, also fantastic. String to hang our piñata with. This is really inexpensive eco cotton, which is great. You get yards of it, depending on how high or low you want to hang your piñata. This is just a great option. Again, you get a whole skein for like really minimal cost, so I thought it was a great value. Rulers. We'll get into this into the nitty-gritty, but you absolutely need a metal ruler with some kind of backing to cut when you're cutting with a utility knife, because if you use your knife and cut into plastic, you will cut into your ruler. Mayhem ensues. We'll get into that, but make sure you always have a metal ruler when you cut with a utility. A glue gun. We probably know how these work, but we'll talk about it in detail. A little glue gun. And the glue sticks. Hello. And our foam core. Our main meat here. Foam core is awesome. It is expanded. See if we can see the edge here. It's expanded foam, and then it's got a paper coating. So it's actually quite a strong, rigid material, and I think kind of gets underutilized besides like, those really big mock-up boards we all had to make in elementary school. All right, great success. So we're gonna grab our template. If you are playing along, just go ahead and cut this out from the handout and go ahead and get out your foam core. So the pack that we bought with this, really, we have a lot of extra. So if you don't like what you made, you have plenty of room to go here. But just, just because we like to not use up more than we need, I'm going to kind of, trace close to the edge, because then we're going to end up cutting out strips. So I'm just going to grab my bat and take my pencil, and we're just going to trace. So I'm just holding down, and I'm just going to trace the outline of our bat here. Now, if you're like, this piñata seems small, let's remember that she's actually pretty chonky because of the volume, so you can fit a lot. But if you want to make it bigger, absolutely go ahead. So if you're crafting or you have this more as a decoration in mind, I would use something like a roll of tape or even like a can of Pepsi to like use to draw your curves. So if you're making a big bat, you know, fold it in half. What I did is I literally just drew a bat shape in half. You can see my little, just me goofing around here for the face. I drew my outline and fold it in half and then cut it out. So that was it. So that's how I made the template. So if you want to make something bigger or you want to change it, you can absolutely do that. This is your bat. But yeah, it was just, you know, making the template was just a rough sketch for me. And my parameters was that I wanted y'all to be able to print it out on your printer at home. So in like a 8.5 by 11 size letter. So our wingspan of our bat's pretty small here. Oops. All right. One bat. We are going to actually go a little out of order here. So we've got our knife. Look at this knife, it's very sweet. We're just gonna go ahead and cut out our big shape from our big piece because I find it way easier to manage. So I would say for other straight cuts, we're gonna use our ruler. For this one, honestly, you can just go ahead and freehand it. I'm just gonna cut kind of around here just to get it big, get it out from our larger shape so we can cut those curves. So with this knife, I'm making sure that I have my blades out. This one is different than other ones. Some brands have a little knob where you lock it, right? So you twist left to unlock it, you push the blade out, then you twist right to lock it. Now that's very important with those type of knives that you lock it. Otherwise your blade will slide around and as you can imagine, things could go wrong. But with this one, it is self-locking. So none of that will happen. So I just make sure that when you're cutting, so we're gonna cut rather than score. I just wanna make sure that my blade, can you see this? My blade is longer than my material. So that looks long enough, great. I'm pressing down pretty forcefully. This foam core is thick with 2 C's. And I'm trying to cut not only so you can see it, but where my weight's kind of on top of it. So I'm not cutting really far away from me because I don't have that much leverage, right? If it's farther away. Popped it out. All right. Now we have much more of a manageable bat situation. Cool. And this part, we got this. We're just cutting out our bat. This is supposed to be a straight line, so I'm going to just take my ruler and my blade, make sure my blade is right next to my ruler, and cut. All right, it's happening. I like cutting the curves kind of toward myself. I find it easier to move. Just make sure that, you know, you stop it before you actually hit your own body. And so I can see that I've cut through, and I stopped before I got to the corner because I don't want to cut into my shape. So I like to get close to the corner and then cut in the other direction. So what I mean is, now that we see this corner, I could have used a ruler there. I've got a pretty straight hand, but I will use that for the other little ears. Going over again to make sure I cut through. If it doesn't cut through like here, I'm just going to flip it to the back. And it looks like it just didn't get the paper on the back, right? Because it's foam sandwiched by our little paper coating. And I just run my knife blade through the paper. Now we've got a cut. Okay, so this isn't fully cut through. Now I'm going to be really careful and put my blade right at the corner and cut it through. Blade isn't super sharp, so that's pretty convenient. Because we need to talk about how to snap off a blade. So this knife, some of them do not come with this part where you literally retract the blade. There's a little piece here where you can pop out, and that's our tool to snap off the blade. You can see that they're scored here, right? So it's literally, it gives you the indicator where to pop your blade off. There's a little indent. Ooh, hard to see. And then I just put my blade in the indent and snapped away. And it snapped right away at the scored line. It's a blade. So when you dispose of this, put this in like a plastic bottle in your recycling so you don't have a loose blade floating around. Unless you're into that, but don't be. Yeah. Save the sanitation then. Okay. So then you just go ahead and put your, you argue with this, there we go. You pop it back in place and you're good to roll. Okay. And then like other utility knives, this blade, when you run out of blades eventually, like, it takes a while of cutting to go through them all. You can just repurchase a sling of blades and don't have to buy the whole new knife. So that goes for the Olfa ones, for this one, we reduce, reuse, recycle. Let's get your refill of the blades. And it's really not difficult to refill them. All right, back to cutting out a bat. Oh yeah, smooth like butter. I kind of just like to move my piece as I'm cutting too, to just help me get the curves. Sometimes like this, the radius of the curve is really small. So I cut kind of the straights and straights, and then I'm going to get closer to it. Trying to show y'all while cutting. But I don't have any particular order either. I just kind of cut what seems easy and just do one curve at a time. Now, if you're like, these curves sound like a no to me, go ahead and make your own bat and make them have like geometric jagged wingspans, right? That will speed up your time as well. It'll just have a different effect, graphically. Okay. Right, so like that was a goofy edge. No big deal, I'm gonna fix it. I don't like the way this looks. Let me go back in and clean it up. So this edge is raggedy, and if we weren't gonna cover it up with tape, I would absolutely keep cutting it, but we're literally gonna cover up our edges with our artist tape. So you know what, it's pretty good. I'm just gonna do one more kind of fixing of my curve here and call it Gucci. And like for this one, it kind of felt better to score it, right? So a score, you saw me put my knife blade into it, but I didn't go through all the way through, right? A score is just making a mark with your blade, but we're not actually cutting through. Cutting through is, what we just did, where we completely separated the pieces. So now that I've scored it, it'll be a little easier for me to cut. So that's just another way to do that as well. If you don't feel great about cutting a whole curve in one fell swoop. The great thing about making stuff is there's a lot of different ways to do it. And we got a pretty cut. Okay, so we're almost done. Just get our ears. I'm going to take my ruler now. Be really careful, and then out. So like we can see that this little V shape here, I'm getting really close to the corner, and then I'm cutting away from it because I don't want to cut into it, because there's a chance that I will run my knife past my line, and I don't want to mess up the area we're keeping. So I find if you cut away from your shape, that helps when it comes to like those kind of tight corners. Real careful, and then just cutting away. Chunk. Also, cutting mat. That was a material I absolutely forgot to mention, but this is key. This knife is metal. It will ruin whatever surface you cut on unless it is a cutting mat. These are made, yeah, they're kind of expensive, but you buy it once, you keep it for a really, 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 really long time. This stuff is awesome because you could cut it, and it's, they call it self-healing. So you can cut it, and when you have like a wood cutting board or a plastic cutting board, you cut with your knife, and you can see the little lines in it. This doesn't do that. It kind of melds itself back together due to plastic magic. So we definitely need a cutting board that's self-healing when we do this. That is a key piece. But again, you buy it once, and then you keep it for all the years. All right, it's a bat. So when you're just, force of habit, always retract your knife blade, even if you're stepping away just for a second. It's just a really good habit. And, we're doing a Halloween craft, but we're not trying to get too spooky with any kind of blood. Apologies, the monster hound always wants to help me teach. Okay, so we have our bat, and how we're going to get our other side of our funny little piñata is we're just going to go ahead and grab our foam core sheet. Hello, darling. And now we're going to trace this. We're going to take our pencil and trace it around, and we're going to cut it out. So because we're humans, the template and this is now not the same. So it's going to be a lot easier if we trace our second side from the piece we cut. So in case, I ended up changing the curve, whatever, just cut from your second side when you do this. But in the interest of time, I'm going to go straight to making our sides. And then if we have time together, we will cut out our other bat. Okay. Now, imagine we have our two pieces of bat here. Before we start making our sides and start gluing them together, we're going to draw our cute little face. So you can do whatever you want. I just did a goofy one because it's hanging. Also, our tape is coming off here. This was made maybe 2 months ago. So our tape does come off. That is something with artist tape to kind of be wary of, is that its strength is that it can be removed from surfaces, but also its weakness is that it, can't be removed from surfaces. So that's why it's pulling away here. But, I'm sure we're not too far out from Halloween here. So whenever you do make this, it's not a big deal to just burnish it down. And then I should have listed everything. I saw the Blick cutting board. That's a competitive product. I've had this for years, but I did list a really good one in the Michaels materials list. So yeah, all the ones that Michael sells are good. Yeah, absolutely. If it's made by a knife company or a scissors company and it's for a cutting board, it's a good one because they want to make their products that support each other. Okay, so we're making cute faces. We're going to freehand this, but it's okay. Now, if you're like, no, don't talk to me like that, crazy lady, that's okay. You have a paper template you cut out. So don't be reticent on that. All I did was just eyeball an eyeball. I just drew a little circle. Now, if you're like, I don't want to freehand that, you can totally this is a little smaller, but if you have your ruler from the materials list, this also has a little circle. You can totally just draw a perfect circle. Booyah. Now it's a little smaller, but if you're interested in something being perfectly symmetrical, you can do that as well. There's no wrong answers here. This is your craft. This is your bat. And the fun part about it being a batty piñata is that it can look a little goofy, right? We're embracing the fun. So I'm gonna just go ahead. Draw my circle. That looks like one eyeball. That looks like two. And then I just want to give like a little detail to the ears, kind of like a highlight within their little ears here. Just drawing lines with my pencil. I'm obsessed with these Prismacolors. This is a Verithin, which is a little thinner than I believe the one I recalled. A ghost took my thick white one. I also grabbed a silver that I have, but anything that's white or silver, a pencil just doesn't show up nearly as well. So we got options, but I'd go for a Prisma because they're pretty sweet. And look how well they show up on black. I liked having its eyes look a little crazy, so I took my pencil and just made some ellipses, half ellipse, to look at the pupils, and then I just shaded in. He's got crazy eyes. See, you look like you should put a little fang here. Here. And that's our little batty face. So we're going to do that on both of our cutouts before we glue it together. But again, in the interest of time, we're just going to draw our face on this one so we can keep boogieing. Again, if you're like, start on your bat and this is your craft, it's fun. Remember too, if you absolutely hate what you do on one side, bonus side. Get everything so y'all can see it. We're going to get that big foam core sheet out. And now we're going to make our sides. So we're going to start first by cutting out a piece to make our little underbelly. We're going to take our ruler and our foam core and a pencil, and we're going to cut a 3. I'm going to write it big so y'all can see. 3 by 16-inch strip. Okay. And we can tick mark at 3. 3. 3. 3. All right. I know my ruler here is 12. This one's bent. Has a hard life. Been working too hard, but I won't put it out to pasture. Oh. Actually, now that I'm doing this, I think this is 16 inches wide. Yeah, that's right. Cool. This is already 16 inches wide. So don't measure and just make a 3-inch wide rectangle here. But if you're buying a different size of foam core, here you go. Great. So we made a 3/16 inch rectangle. Great success. Let's cut it. And take our metal ruler because, okay, story time. I have cut myself many, many, many years ago because it was very late and I took my metal knife and my plastic ruler. You can see how much this slides. I nicked into the plastic and my fingy. Do not do this. So use your metal ruler. Make sure it has a cork backing. And, you know, when we're doing this, we're pushing down pretty hard because we've got a pretty decent blade. Not something to be afraid of, but just something to be respectful of and be mindful of. All right. Lining up my ruler, pressing down pretty good. Pushing my blade against the edge of my ruler so I don't go off into crazy wonderland here. Just fun, but you know, not right now. Maybe later. All right, boom. And if you happen to not have your blade extended all the way down or just, you know, didn't push down hard enough, do what I was doing earlier and just flip it over. And you could probably just kiss the back of that paper side and unlock it. Because again, it's a foam sandwich with paper as the bread. All right, all right, all right. So we are going to do that scoring thing, right? Because we just cut. Scoring is where we're making a line in our material. We're cutting into it, but we're not cutting all the way. So we are going to do like 1/4 inch lines all the way down, and then we're going to score it. So I'm going to use this ruler to find it a little easier. And yep, protect the blade. And now I'm just going to take my ruler and my pencil, and I'm just going to make lines. 1/4 inch. And like, yeah, this does take a second, but it's also kind of meditative. So, you know, you're here, you're partying. Also, after a while, you know, so we're going to score these to make these curves. So we do want them to be kind of this small, but after a while, if you don't want to measure and you can eyeball it, you can get a little more loose with it. Because this is just where we're going to cut to then be able to bend this, which is how we get those sweet, sweet curves. And I'll show you if you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. That's cool. If you're playing along, I would go ahead and plug in your glue gun now so it heats up. while you're staring at me do this. I'm left-handed, so what's up, fellow lefties? Drop it in the chat. All right, cool. So we've got our ridges. You're like, okay, great. Part 2, we're gonna score them. Okay, so we're gonna take our ruler because we're going to score. So score means I'm just gonna use this as an example. We're going to take our knife. We're gonna break about halfway through. This is just an example. So we're gonna score it, but I'm not gonna cut through the paper, right? I just cut a little bit and I could snap our foam core, right? So if I do it again, I cut through the paper, I snap it, we can start to get a curve. Now you can see, since we made all these tiny lines, if we cut this, we're gonna get a really smooth, pretty curve, which is why we spent the time to make all the tiny lines, because this is, she's looking rough, you know? All right, great success. So now this is the time to make sure you have your blade not too deep, because we don't want to cut through. You can always check and be like, is this okay? Yeah. Maybe it can be even a little less. Yeah. Let's do this. So I'm just going to take my ruler, my metal ruler now, and go over these lines, and I'm just going to score them. Now it's a score party. You can, you know, have the game on for whatever your team is. You can say goal, you know, whatever you need to do, whatever works for you. Okay, so just these quick scores. This is sweet. Check this out. Can you see it? But now we're going to be able to break through the foam in our little paper sandwich, and it's a lot more fun when you have all of them done, but we're going to be able to bend them and get a really sweet curve. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's how we get the sweet, sweet smoothness. Also, I drew these because this is a class and it's pencil, but if you feel so strongly, you can really go through and just score without the pencil lines if you don't want to have the tape. That may make sense as we keep going, but I recommend, as your first time, to just have the pencil lines as a guide. It doesn't take too long, and you know, doesn't hurt. Yeah, so my blade is not very long. It's not longer than my material. So we're just scoring, spelled the same way as push down. But yes, scoring versus cutting. And it's just another tool in our little creative arsenal. Also, I am in Dallas, so like, can we talk about that Cowboys game? It's pretty sweet. All right. We made a lot, and we're just gonna keep going. I think for time, I may actually truncate us a little bit here. So most piñatas aren't made out of foam core. They're made out of something called chipboard, which is a lot thinner and inexpensive. But I wanted to use foam core because it's a really great material. And learning how to do curves with foam core kind of unlocks a way to make three-dimensional objects that's relatively inexpensive and provides us with those curves because we love a curve. See, I just totally goofed that. It's okay. Also went without the tissue paper because one of the nice things is that foam core inherently has a pretty smooth surface and we already have black when we're making bats. So I was like, yeah, why not? Sometimes, you know, it's just an interesting way to, okay. So we've got all these scores. Now I'm gonna do a really fun part and just press on the other side and we're gonna crack that foam and start to get a really pretty curve. It's like rolling on me now. All right. Woo! Fun stuff. Awesome. Great success. If you cut through, it's fine. You can do a couple things. Since we're going to cover it with tape anyway, you can cover it with tape. And as we make this, at some parts we are going to end up cutting. So like, don't worry about it too much. But I wouldn't hot glue it. I would just use our paper tape in case you do end up needing to remove it. You can do that. Okay. We've got our baddie. Here, flip it over. Now we've got all these curves. I'm gonna try again. Go through and pop all my little lines here. Like oddly satisfying doing this. If you like popping bubble wrap, oh, you've unlocked a new treasure. As you can imagine, you could really take time doing that. Anyway, woo! So I flipped my bat over because this is our outside. We're gonna do these curves. So honestly, all I did was I took, how much is in shadow here? I took my curvy edge and I literally just glued around and glued around and glued around. And then when I came to my straight edge, I cut. So it's okay if you end up cutting through, you never know where it may end. But for the sake of this, I find it way easier because then we don't have to measure exact curves. Just start at the edge of your wing, and go in and go from there. So you got your glue gun already, vroom vroom. You can see the way the curve wants to go. Like we're gonna have our scores facing inside of the bat. Now I'm just gonna trace it. It's a little in shadow. Let's see if I can do this where y'all can see. Nope, not where I can see too. Okay, so I'm just placing the edge of my foam core right along the edge here, and I'm just gonna glue along. Oops, let me see that. Whoops. All right, so as I was checking my camera angle, I got glue on the inside. That's okay. This is the inside of Piñata. No one's ever gonna see it. Write a secret message. No, no. So I just glued my first little curve area. I'm pressing with my fingers to make sure that I'm kind of aligned up. This is a glue gun that's pretty low heat slash my fingers are dead inside. So I can go ahead and press, but this is an adult class. So yeah, it's not that hot. Okay, awesome. So I'm just pressing down and now I've got this. It looks crazy. That's okay. We're getting there. But yeah, now we've got literally something that's right along our curve. And we can see that we are just going to keep doing that. Okay. We're like, what? This is not going to bend this way. Yeah, totally. So actually, we've already got this curve here. what might make our life easier is if we score it because, or we cut it all the way through because this material wants to keep going in this direction. So we'll let it. But again, it's easier to cut one long strip that I found than try and do the math on each of these organic things, because that's complicated geometry and this is a beginner class. All right, so I'm gonna fold it so I know which one I'm cutting through. And I'm literally, since we already have it snapped through, I'm just gonna take my blade, I'm gonna push down. I should probably don't need that far. I'm gonna push down, make sure this is into the ground, and I'm just gonna cut through on the other side that I scored. See it? Little bat. Then we just get to keep going. Oh, we're already at 44. No. Okay. So we would rinse and repeat this and just keep going. And so I would measure out. Let's see if you can see this. I would snap all of my little lines here. It's very satisfying. I would then line up again and line up my curve. And now I know the game. I'm actually going to look at where this next corner is, and then I'll just mark it. So before I glue it down, I could be like, oh, I'm going to cut here, cut it before I glue it. So we'll do that one real quick. So all I did was line up my foam core against the edge of the curve. Try to do this so y'all can all see. That's that curve. Bend it. Okay, yep, so it's the one I marked. Now I know that that's where I want to cut. I can just take my ruler and a knife. So I would do that for all of these, but I just want to give the example of why we're cutting in the long one rather than trying to do the math before we cut. And we would just glue it. Okay, so in the interest of time, I am going to do this top one so we can show how we attach our strings. And then we will take this part together. So we'll have a part of our piñata. Okay, so you cut this out. You've done great. You've glued all your pieces here. You've got the bottom. Fantastic work. What you're gonna do to get the wing part is the same thing. We're gonna cut another 3-inch strip. That's 3-inch by 10 inches. No, we'll write this down. So we would cut another 3 by 10 inch rectangle. We would score it just like we did. Score 0.25 inches. And so imagine that's what we have. Wow. And all we would do is the same thing. We started at the corner. We filled in all of this. Now we've got our fresh cut stuff here. And again, if you accidentally cut through, that's fine. Just throw some of this artist tape where you cut it. Another property of the artist tape is that it's quite bendy. So that'll work well. Now I'll just line up where my bat should go. You can see I'm just kind of feeling, okay, that seems good. about here. So now I found that if I line it up, it's already also got a score line. So we scored it really close. We made all these lines, but even though we're using just the curves, each place kind of lines up. So we're not like finding that the place where we need to cut is in between a score mark. It really does work out pretty decently with having it cut at every 1/4 inch. So there is a method to the madness. Or just put it all the way through the first time. All right. Talking about my bat wing. So we've got this awesome grid situation. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to glue and press. And I cut right here. So when I was just lining everything up before I cut it, I was just pressing my fingers on the edge of this. Hard to show. Fingers on the edge of this so that it, when it hit this part before our ears, that's where I cut. And it was already on a score line. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Run a line of glue real quick. Now, the smooth side here is on the inside because it's, you know, we can only cut the way our scores are. And if you cut without a pencil and, you know, didn't draw dimensions all over it, if you wanted to not tape this, that's fine. That's cool. That's a design choice, but we'll get there in a second. Anyway, wanted to make a note. And again, this is the inside of our piñata. So if you get all crazy, if you, I don't know, write some dimensions, it's no big deal. No one will know until after the piñata is smashed open, but they're going to be distracted by like whatever you put inside. So not worried about that for you. Now I'm just pressing down, feeling the edge. We've got some curves. Now I'm just gonna glue a little bit. The bond between foam core and glue is pretty tight. They are homies and they do hang out on weekends. So I don't want to glue too much. Now I'm gluing these edges to our sides, but I'm just gonna dot this with glue because I do want someone to be able to break this open. Because if I like did a full line of glue everywhere, this becomes like Fort Knox, and then, you know, that's less fun. So I'm just gonna like put a little dot here to connect them. And like this edge looks a little crispy. That's fine. We're gonna cover it with tape. So, and if you don't want to cover the whole thing with tape, what I did before I decided to do that was I just covered the edges, and I'll show that as well. Okay, so that scenario, this is all you're going to do for the rest of your sides of your piñata. You're going to use the scoring gluing technique, leave this open. No, close. Because that's where our opening is to put our candy or treats or tiny liquor bottles. I don't know your life, whatever you want to do here. And so it's the same thing. So we used a 3" by 10" strip. And then for this, we used the 3" by 16" strip. And it was just gluing, or excuse me, we were kind of marking it and then cutting it before we glued it with all these little pieces. And that's it. So make sure you get all of your edges attached. And then before, because remember, we're going to cut 2 of these. Before you put this on, we need to make sure we attach the strings. Otherwise, it's really hard to do that. So imagine we have all the rest of our piñata built out here. Fantastic. Yay. We're going to go ahead and take, close your knife blade. take whatever string you're using. And this depends on where you want to hang it. If you don't know yet, honestly, cut a couple feet because you can always cut it off. So this is 14 inches, 16 inches, 15 inches. Just to do this with. But cut longer if you don't know how you're hanging it, because you can always tie that off. All I did to attach this was, before I put the other end on, I had all my little pieces. I went in and I took my hot glue gun. I made a knot at the end. And I took my ruler, which is somewhere. We know that this is about 3. So I made a notch at 1.5 inches, just so it's centered. If our string isn't centered in the middle, it won't hang straight, it'll hang crooked, which could be cool, but since we handmade this, we'd rather distribute the weight evenly if possible. So marked it 1.5 inches in the middle, and then I'm just going to take my string and I'm going to glue it. But I'm going to glue an ample amount because this is going to be the part that holds all the weight. So I'm going to double duty here. I'm taking at least 1 inch. And I'm really gluing. It's pretty crazy. And press it down real good. And then we're going to throw some tape on top of it just for good measure. Because we want the string, the piñata to come down because someone hit it, not because it was just sitting there. Yep, glue's dry. Bring fingers a little bit, as is tradition. Take a piece of tape. Burnish it down. Great success. Okay, so you're gonna do that on both sides. And all you're gonna do once you've filled in your edges, you're gonna add your string. And then the last thing you do is add your other back face. Cute side out, and you'll just glue it around the edge. So once you do that, you've got it wholly assembled. Then we're just adding the tape on for show. Grab your tape. And I'm just gonna quickly demonstrate. What I did was I took tape around the edge and then I just followed the curves. Sorry. Follow the curves. Just to give it that kind of fun, shiny look. You have to burnish this down pretty good to make it stay. That's okay too. You know, this thing is meant to be destroyed. And then, you know, obviously cut clean edges for the sake of time here. If you like the way the ridges look, which is cool, it's a vibe, it's texture, and you didn't draw all over it in pencil, I could also, like, I would totally just tape, get a clean edge going, and then tape over just the foam core, and then tape over your seams, so that looks clean too. You just have a little bit. So that's up to you. But that's our bat piñata. That's all we did. And it is sturdy. It's ready to party. It holds a lot. As you're starting to get in here, like, we've got quite a good amount of volume. And again, if you want to change the shape, do it. Just make sure that this side and this side are the same. You can make this thinner or thicker, right? Because this was 3 inches, but if you want to make it even chunkier, do that. You know, if you want to make it thinner, absolutely do that. And I just want to make sure we have time for questions. So thank you for being spooky. I hope you have a spooky, spooky piñata party. And then I would love to answer any questions that have popped up.
So we had 2 questions, but you actually addressed them already, so we don't have any more questions.
Thank y'all so much. I hope you enjoyed this. And then I am on the Instagram at probably sketch. And I would love for you to tag me if you do anything. I'd love to see that. That's the whole fun part of this, is seeing what y'all do and learning. I have a bunch more Halloween classes coming up, and you can find them at Michael's online. So share it. I know it's hard to make it on Monday nights, but sign up and you always get the YouTube link after. And this class, like the rest of them, are available on YouTube. So if you want to look at it and be like, what did she do? It's going to be on the internet. So thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all. And thanks, Chanel, our awesome moderator. Hope y'all have a great night.